Claudia, hello and welcome, and thank you for speaking with me today. Your work has been so important to me and also to my white colleagues and friends as they engage, sometimes for the very first time, with a conversation about race and about whiteness and racial justice. So thank you for your work. And I'm really thrilled to be able to bring your theatrical work to the UK for the very first time. For those who'll be meeting your work brand new, can you tell us a little bit about how you began writing in the first place, the work that you make, and what motivates that work?
Well, you know, well, first of all, thank you. Thank you for your support of the work, and I'm so excited to come and see the production when it's on its legs. Mm-hmm. You know, I'm almost 60, so you're asking me a question that goes back 40 years. But I started writing in university because I, like any healthy 19-year-old, 18-year-old, felt like I could do the thing that I loved. I was reading everything and everybody from Blake, a lot of poetry, I have to admit, and mostly Russian authors and poetry at that time. And I remember reading a poem and thinking, I could do this. And that's when I just started taking writing classes. And once I started, I just didn't stop. It just became a thing that fed me both as like a hard math problem. How do you make this thing happen on the page?
Beautiful. I love that kind of the confidence of youth that says, I can do this.
I can do this.
And I often think about like that 17-year-old Natalie and that 18-year-old Claudia. I'm channeling them on a daily basis in my life and work at the moment. And your work spans so many different forms. Is there a thing that's motivating, irrespective of the way that it expresses itself, whether that's a poem or a play? Is there a central thing at the heart of all your work?
Well, I think my work moves out of questions. And the genre is less important, but the drive is not the answer, but the question. I'm always curious how you circle the feeling and the desire for resolution, even as you know the resolution can't come.
Yeah, beautiful. And whilst this is the first time your play will be meeting the Northeast, I know that this isn't the first time that you've met the Northeast. You were awarded an honorary doctorate at Newcastle University in 2016, so congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
How does it feel for the White Card to be premiering in Newcastle?
Well, it's, I have to say, before I received the honorary degree, Newcastle wasn't large in my imagination, and but this is why we should get out and travel a little bit, because when I got there, I learned that the people who had created the circumstances for Frederick Douglass's freedom were in Newcastle. And so suddenly it became a place close to my heart. And it now travels with me as the site of the exception. There were people who knew better. There were people who acted on what they knew, who created the possibility of mobility for Black people. So it's a great honor to be back.
Gosh, like hearing you talk about my city, my adopted city, is really powerful. And I can assure you there isn't, a person that comes to Newcastle that doesn't fall in love with it. So we're really glad that you're going to come back and see us. You talked about, irrespective of the form of your work, that there is this kind of desire and curiosity and question asking. But I'm interested in what does live theatre and plays offer you? Like, what is special about theatre for you?
You know, as you know, I studied poetry most of my life, and I have taught poetry. But the theater offered me two things. I was invited, the first time I worked on a play, I was commissioned to do it for the Foundry Theatre. And suddenly I was in this huge community of people. I mean, normally I'm used to sitting at this desk by myself for hours. And so, you know, then everything got discussed and everything, you know, massaged together. And so it was a real thrill to see that there was this other world that you could create in and make a thing in the world, and that there were actual audience members that you could see. That comes with its own challenges, of course. But so for me, that was the sort of driving impetus. But the other really important thing for me in the theater, which is different from writing my books, is that I get to see a thing embodied. And you see it in real time with real people. And as I've gotten older, I've become more and more interested in conversation. And what does it mean for me to be talking to you? And how does that change who I am and who you are, and how we manage each other from moment to moment? And I really thought that the only place that that could be shown would be in the theater.
Yeah, I've been talking about the white card for forever, but my sort of simple way of talking about it is that it's a live debate play, it's a living debate. So that idea of embodied and conversation really is really rich in your work, I think. So talking about the white card, is it your second play, the white card, was it?
It is the second, yes.
Yes, your second play. So what is it about, Claudia?
What is the white card about? You know, on the face of it, it is a way of thinking about how philanthropy works, especially when white male patriarchy holds the money, the power, etc., and then offers it in support of people of color, but whatever is offered can be taken away. So, you know, it becomes a complicated interaction. And so but there's that. But really, I think the white card is about knowledge, truth, and the irrelevance of that. You know, people often say, if only I knew, or if only, but we know and we know and we know. And what does that change? So I think at the heart of the white card is the question of, when is knowing going to make a difference in the world that we share together?
Yeah, great, thank you. In Citizen, your book, you introduced me to the James Baldwin quote, the purpose of art is to lay bare the questions hidden by the answers, and that's really stayed with me. What are you laying bare in the white card?
Well, you know, for me, that quote is important because it says, we all think we know, but really, what are the questions that got us there? And in the white card, I think there's a black female character in the ensemble. And for her, I think, as a black artist myself, and I think we have to also understand our own implication, our own culpability, our own passive ways of allowing what is to stay what is. And so I really wanted to look at that. I wanted to think about that.
Yeah, it definitely feels like this is a play for everyone. Like everyone goes on a journey during that. There is no bad guy, good guy, you know. And I definitely empathized with Charlotte's the central character. Well, the central character of an ensemble, and the black artist, as you know, as a black maker myself, and yeah, no one gets off lightly.
Well, we are people in relation, and we're constantly in management of each other. A friend of mine who recently passed away, the great affect theorist Lauren Ballant, has a book coming out called The Inconvenience of Other People. And I feel like the white card is inside that dynamic. It's like people are essential to us and also inconvenient to us. Yeah. And we're constantly in management of that.
Yeah, and I feel like, you know, as we move through this pandemic, I feel like we are, you know, have acknowledged how much we've missed people, but also having to renegotiate people in a changed world. So on that, you know, the play was first done in Boston in 2018. What do you think has or hasn't changed, and how does that impact the work, do you think?
Well, I mean, we're still inside a white supremacist country, a country that is fighting to hold accountable militia, white power militia who stormed the Capitol. And people within the Capitol not even wanting to look at it because they themselves are implicated in it. So we're still there in that. But we also, with the killing of George Floyd and movements that were propelled by Black Lives Matter, are in one of the most active periods of activism, and insight in an odd way to what is going on. Despite the pandemic, we have had people coming out against voter suppression. We've also had laws implementing voter suppression. So it's a very active time politically. I think it would be hard now to have people say, I don't know what white privilege is. It has been on the table, turned over, fried, sent on vacation, brought back in ships everywhere in the last 2 years.
Yeah, and it feels that now more than ever, it's time to turn the knowing into the doing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When I start a project, I often think about what do I want people to be saying at the interval? What do I want them to be saying afterwards in the toilet? And the white card and your artistry is rooted in conversation. So I'm interested about what do you want people to be saying and talking about afterwards?
You know, that's such an excellent question. I think that we're in, if I were in the stall next to somebody in the women's bathroom, I really would want to hear a conversation that began, I didn't think about that. I didn't see it in that way. I've been in this kind of situation and it didn't occur to me that might have felt or looked or been interpreted in this way. And that to me is the beginning of another kind of journey. What choices get made around that, I don't know. But the idea that there is recognition that can then be plumbed for growth would be really nice. I think it's something that when I go to the theater, I'm really interested in. I sometimes, when a piece of art is especially impactful for me, I find that I'll come home and want to write, because suddenly some door has opened up into a new way of thinking about something. And so that would be the gift I would wish to anyone who came to see the white card.
Oh, brilliant. And I mean, the white card is a piece of art about art, and this idea of perspective and shifting perspective feels really critical in the work, but also in the experience that we want to create for audiences. So I'll try my best, Claudia. Finally, the white card is centered around a dinner party. Who would you invite to your dream dinner party, and what would you want to talk about?
My goodness, that's the hardest question of all the questions. You know, the sort of go-to answer, but it's actually true. I would love for James Baldwin to come back from wherever one goes after one has passed. And maybe I would just have him, so he would do this. That would be incredible. Or Toni Morrison, if he couldn't come. And if death were in our way, who would it be? I think right now, Stacey Abrams would be an interesting person. The fact that she is running again for governor is stunning to me. She seems fearless. So I think I would also like her.
That's a dinner party I want to be at. Wonderful. Thank you so much for your time, Claudia.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to get started on the white card.
Thank you. I'm so excited.